back to my channel. Just fancy doing a video today, so I've got a few things to update you on. First of all, I've been doing a little bit more collaging. Well, not collaging, actually, I didn't make a collage, it was more cut out and paste as opposed to a technical collage, really. But I've written a poem, because I've written a few poems lately, and recently I decided to pick I wrote one about autumn, because autumn's one of my favourite seasons, and I wrote it up in my journal, and I prettified it, and so that's what I did. I'll just show you. Hang on, just get it up. Yeah. There you go, I hope you can see that. It's called The Autumn of My Soul. So I'll just read it to you. Called The Autumn of My Soul. Crimson, gold and cocoa hues daub the sunlit leaves. The light falls gently like a warm caress. A quenching drink from cool springs flows in the breeze. A time to reflect, soften, yield. Drink from the well of memory. The dark is the midwife of dreams. Introverted gloom, a rustic, pine-scented arboreal beauty. Blackberry spice and warm apple pie nourish the brooding mind, bringing forth nostalgia for cosy times past. The autumn of my soul dances in harmony with nature sublime. So that's my little poem. I hope you like it. And yes, I wrote it out in my neatest possible handwriting. Because my handwriting, I can write really neatly, but I have to spend time over it. So I wrote it out in nice, neat handwriting, and I just decorated it with autumn sort of vibes. Yeah. I still want to, on the other side where I stuck a little picture of blackberries, I still want to decorate around it as well, which I'll do at some point. Yeah, it looks very nice now, written out. I'm pleased with it. So I'll put that in my this journal here, go through what you go through, which I got from the Works. I love the Works, best shop ever. Okay, so that's one thing. Oh no! Sorry. Camera fell down. Hang on. Just move this out of the way. There we go, it won't fall down now. There we go. So yeah, I wanted to update you on some things. So as I was talking about in my previous video, I was considering whether or not to quit therapy with CAS, the organisation CAS, and I did. And I have made that decision now. I have quit. I'm no longer getting therapy from them. I had 4 sessions in total because it was just a waste of my time, and it wasn't helping me. And as I said in that previous video, they said some very unhelpful things about autism. For example, everyone being on the autistic spectrum. Now, if someone's going to hold that view, it's going to be very difficult for me to do any psychic work with them, because they're coming at autism from completely the wrong premise, and it's like a complete load of utter crap. If they think that we're all on the autistic spectrum, it's basically saying that autism isn't actually a serious condition, and that it's watering down, it's diluting what autism is. And clearly we're not all on the autistic spectrum. As far as I'm concerned, autism is a categorical condition like cerebral palsy. It's like cerebral palsy. Someone either has it or they don't. We're not all a little bit cerebral palsy, I don't have it, someone else has it. It's a categorical thing. And cerebral palsy is a spectrum condition like autism, which is why I sort of feel, in a way, it's a good analogy. So someone either has cerebral palsy or they don't have it. It's a binary. You either have it or you don't. Same, as far as I'm concerned, the same with autism. There's people who say autism is a continuum and believes off the general population. As far as I'm concerned, they're speaking a load of crap. I don't care even if they're scientists. It doesn't make it true just because someone says it who happens to be a scientist or whatever. Because I live with autism. I have autism, and obviously, like, other autistics might agree or disagree. But from my perspective, as someone with autism, it is a categorical condition. Like, if everyone was a bit autistic, the world would not be running as it is. Just because some people in the general population who aren't autistic might share certain characteristics that I can identify with. So, for example, you might have a non-autistic person who's not great at socialising, who's a bit who prefers their own company, who might be a little bit socially awkward. And they might identify with an autistic person maybe and get on with an autistic person, but they're not autistic if that's all it is, because autism is so much more than just being a little bit socially awkward. And someone can be socially awkward for a whole range of reasons. Like, sometimes it's just because they're introverted, which is a personality variable which does operate on a continuum. Personality is a continuum. That's a dimension. So introversion, extroversion, most people are a little bit of both. That's why you have ambiversion. Some people are more at one extreme than the other. A minority of people are like extreme introverts and another minority are extreme extroverts. But most people are a mixture of the two, and it's a continuum. A genuine continuum. But they're not disorders. They're not disabilities. They just represent different ways of being they just represent different ways of information, different styles, if you like, of relating to the world. Obviously, like, very extreme introversion could potentially cause problems in a person's life, particularly as they're operating in a society that's often very extroverted, and they might consequently experience mental health problems and things like that. But it's completely different to autism, though, and it's not on the same continuum as autism. And like, behaviour can have a whole range of different causes or different reasons behind it. Like, for example, two people might have a headache. That presents as the same outward symptom, but that headache could be caused for any number of different reasons, some benign, some very serious. So that's an analogy I would use. Like, with autism, someone might not make eye contact. Obviously, that's just one potential symptom of autism, and some autistic people do make good eye contact. It's just one potential symptom. It doesn't define autism. And likewise, some neurotypical people might struggle with eye contact, but it may well not be for the same reason as someone with autism who struggles with eye contact. It could be for a completely different reason. And even if it is for the same reason, even if there is, for that one isolated symptom, the same underlying cause for that isolated symptom, it still doesn't mean that that person, if that's all they have, is autistic. I'm trying to think of a physical analogy. I suppose, like, a headache. The brain reason why someone might have a headache, say if there's some brain problem, like a brain inflammation can cause a headache. I'm just trying to think of an example. I don't know, like, there could be like a disease that someone has that causes them to have a headache, and the outcome is the same, a headache, even though they're different diseases that can cause a headache. So that might be an example of that, where the underlying kind of physical basis is the same, and yet the actual disease is very different. Because it's not just a headache that a disease might cause, so, I can't really explain it more than that, but, so going back to the cerebral palsy example, so I sort of feel that cerebral palsy is quite a good analogue for autism in a sense, because, obviously it's very different to autism, but I would say that just like cerebral palsy, I would say autism is, categorical, like you either have it or you don't have it. And just like cerebral palsy, autism is also a spectrum. Like, there are many different types of cerebral palsy. Some people are just affected in one limb. Other people, like my brother's ex-girlfriend, had a form of cerebral palsy that just affected her limb. So that's like one form. And then there are other people where it affects their speech, or in like really extreme cases, they can literally be bound to a wheelchair and have like really profound intellectual problems as well. but it's like a spectrum, and some people are not obviously affected at all, and you might not necessarily be able to see it apart from maybe a very slight limp or something. It's the same with autism. It's like a spectrum, and cerebral palsy, there are many different types of cerebral palsy, all under that bracket, and I would say there are many different types of autism, all under that bracket. So yeah, that's the analogy I would use, but I would say it's categorical. So saying we're all on the autistic spectrum is really offensive to me as someone who is autistic, because I feel it undermines how serious autism affects my life, how seriously autism affects my life. And saying we're all somewhere on that spectrum is just offensive, and I feel people who say that really haven't educated themselves on what they should, and I have not really understood autism at all. And it was really quite surprising how this person, I mean, she has an autistic daughter, so you would think that she would be more clued up, but I'm not sure how many books she's actually read or how well versed she is in the autism community as a whole, because most autistic people would disagree with the idea that everyone's on the autistic spectrum and would see it as quite offensive. It's just not what you say, you know. It's like saying everyone's got a bit of depression or everyone's got a bit of OCD, you know. It's completely and utterly diminishing. Yeah, so that was kind of, I think she was, that really kind of, I was like thinking, it really made me feel like my autism wasn't understood, because I've had like a range of different support people in my life. And for really good ones, are the ones who understand that autism is categorical, and who understand that autism is not, who understand how serious autism is, and who really take pains to understand autism and like the different types. They're the ones who I feel really genuinely are good practitioners. I just feel it's toxic energy, because I sort of feel that if someone has that view about autism, it's kind of like, I can't trust them, because they basically have just shown how ignorant they are in that one sentence. But that wasn't the main reason why I stopped therapy, by the way. That kind of annoyed me, but I thought I took it upon myself to try and educate her. I'm not sure I managed to, how successful I was at that at all, or not. But she also didn't seem to quite understand how disabling autism was for me. I guess because I could talk really well and stuff. But like, again, people who are like understanding of autism will kind of like listen to what I say, and they will also have done their research, so that they would know about how autism affects everyone differently, and how just because you can speak really well doesn't mean that you are like mildly affected or whatever. So it was just sending me out lots of bad vibes, and the idea that all her advice as to how to deal with phobias was just to go ahead and do the thing that you're scared of, as if that's going to cure you of your phobia. Like, oh, tell someone who's scared of spiders, just go and pick up a spider. Like, that's hardly going to cure their phobia. The same thing for me, like, and she kept on like going on about, I know, like, in my previous video I was talking about the feelings thing. Now, obviously, when you go to a counsellor, you are expected maybe to talk a bit about your feelings. I do know that, and I'm not like, you know, I'm not adverse to that as such. It's more the way she went about it. I do find feelings really difficult, and again, if she'd actually listened to me when I said I find feelings difficult, her response was very defensive. I'm a counsellor, that's what I do, which came across as kind of like she wasn't going to kind of adapt to me, and that's really wrong, because if she's dealing with autistic clients, she needs to understand that her way of working needs to change to accommodate her clients. Like, she shouldn't force them to kind of follow a standard script of what counsellors do. The whole point of being a good counsellor is that you adapt to your clients. And if you have clients who find emotions difficult, there still might be ways of like talking about them, but in a way that's kind of friendly and not kind of. It's just a way of working that she didn't seem. There were different ways of working, and the way she kept on grilling me about my dad, and like, don't you understand how that makes him feel? How do you think your dad feels? Like, don't you think? And like, just because I can't see him at the moment, obviously because I'm OCD and it's not my fault, made me feel like a naughty kid, and that made me feel really upset, because it felt like she was targeting something like that I can't control and making it out like it's all my fault when it's not at all my fault, and it just didn't feel like a very helpful way of helping me, if that makes sense. Anyway, to cut a long story short, yeah, I've quit her now. And I've gone and found another psychologist. I haven't started with this other psychologist yet. I will have my first session on the 2nd of November. She's based in London. She's a chartered psychologist. She's very well trained in autism. She does NHS as well as private work, but obviously I'm seeing her privately. The fact that she does NHS work as well suggests that she's reputable. She also actually diagnoses autism. I'm not sure if she does that on the NHS or privately, but again, if you diagnose autism, you have to be skilled. You know, she's done talks on autism, she's done presentations on autism, she's got loads and loads of qualifications under her belt. She's not just any old counsellor. Like the one I had previously just had a very basic counselling qualification. This one is a member of the British Association of Counsellors and Psychologists. She's got pretty much every qualification under the sun. She looks incredibly well qualified, and I'm really confident. Obviously I haven't met her yet, but I'm really confident that this is going to be a good one. I've got high hopes. Just because she is so qualified and because she looks like she's got years of experience behind her working with autistic people. But obviously I only really know once I met her, obviously virtually online. When I do meet her, I'm gonna make sure that I'm basically on the same page with her. Like I am going to ask her, I'm going to say, so you don't think we're all on the autism spectrum, do you? Just checking, because I will tell her, what a previous counsellor said and how upsetting it made me feel, and I just want to make sure that she's not one of those people who thinks that. That's very important. We're not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to end up feeling really annoyed. So, and it's going to come up at some point. So, I just want to make sure. That's what I'm going to ask her. But I'm pretty confident she's not going to say that because, if you're really well qualified and you diagnose autism, you're going to know that we're not all in the autistic spectrum. So that would be really bad if she agreed with that. I'll be like, where? I'll be like, oh my god. So yeah, fingers crossed. Okay, so moving over to video number 2 now. I just want to talk about something else. So moving over to video number 2 now.